I think today is a great day to tell you guys the story of the half brother that I have never met, and that I probably will never meet. So today's topic I wanted to be kids who are born outside of wedlock. Well, in my family, that has happened, not just amongst relatives that are close but not in the nuclear family, nothing like that. Like, actually, that happened to my parents. And all I can say is that through my mom, I have a full brother, and I had another half sibling who never made it to this world. And then there's me, and on her side, that's it. From my father's side, I have my eldest brother, who is only my half brother. And then, of course, the full brother who I share with my mom, of course. But between my full brother and myself, there is another half brother. So I am the youngest out of 3 brothers. I don't remember exactly if when I was 13 was truly the first time I had ever heard about this, but the first time I vividly remember being aware that I had another brother, I just remember being 13 years old. And I remember I was in the 8th grade, I was in middle school. Can't remember exactly what season it was, but I just remember seeing my full brother, who had moved out a few months prior, because he's 5 years older than I am. And then over the internet, I see this photo being shared, and it's my full brother with my father with another guy who I have never met, who looks just like my dad. And then that's when it was explained to me that I have this half brother. But I swear to you, honest to God, I don't remember ever hearing that I had this other brother, neither in my childhood or whatever. I'm not sure if that was concealed from me. I'm not sure if I just do not remember, because more and more my childhood, as you can imagine, perfectly normal, is becoming more faint, more vague. And there's a part of me that hates that that's happening, because I can remember things randomly. It's not like I can travel to any given time period and be like, oh yeah, I remember in vivid detail what I was doing, where I was at. I can remember basic things like school, perhaps the names of my teachers and stuff, but I don't remember the order of my classes. I don't remember the exact names of those classes, etc. Or what the testing process was like, things like that. So I'm wishing I would have begun to write a little earlier. But anyway, that's beside the point. What I wanted to get to is that I mentioned that this half brother is someone I probably wouldn't meet. Well, I remember the first time I ever talked to him in any way, made any kind of contact with him, it was over the internet. And I just remember that this happened over MySpace. And I remember messaging him and being like, oh, well, hey, I hear you're my brother, this and that. It was extremely awkward. And, he greeted me, whatever. And then, of course, Dad came up in a conversation. And I just remember him saying that we don't talk about him. And in my mind, I thought, oh, okay, so you hate him too. Okay, cool. But of course, we didn't bond over it in that manner. But it's strange because I really don't know much about him. I don't remember when his birthday is. And I say I don't remember because you know how you can go online and find out, like if you have them on social media. For some reason, I never figured that out. I never remembered, or I never saw it. And if I saw it, it was like secondhand information. Say it came up that his birthday had been, for example, 3 days ago, and then someone posted a comment on Facebook and I just so happened to see it, and that's how I found out. Exactly how many years older than me he is, I'm not sure, but if I had to guesstimate, I would say he's 2 years older, only because that feels about right. He's not my brother's age and he's not my age. He's in between. But now that I think about it, it's possible that he's closer in age to my brother than me. I'm telling you, I've never met him. So if I haven't met you in person, some details about you, unless you're there present in my life via messaging or occasional calls and stuff, I cannot retain much about you. And that's why it's not a very effective method of learning for me to learn stuff online over a computer without a live instructor, because I find a live instructor to be much more impactful, and you can add personality to a learning session. So anyway, so this just got me thinking. Something happened in my family. I'm not going to get into the details, but even if I could, I don't have the story completely straight. So if I were to begin telling a story, I don't want to like half-ass my way through it. But also because of the relative gravity of the situation, I feel like I couldn't share that with you guys anyway. It wouldn't be proper. But something happened, and this convinces me that I don't think I'll ever meet this half-brother of mine, even though we're old, even though we're adults and whatnot. Something happened within the family that makes it improbable that such a thing could be accomplished. Am I hurt by it? It depends, because as I have mentioned, I haven't bonded with this brother. I don't know him. All I know is his name. I don't even know if he has a middle name. Of course, we have the same last name. He's married and has children and stuff, but because of this conflict within the family, and you guys know that I have talked about my family before and how they make me feel, well, it's strange to be in this situation where I have this brother who I have never met, but because of stuff that's been happening, I'll probably never meet. Anytime this matter comes up in the family, I always boil it down to one very little yet big thing. And that is, did our father just fail us? Is that the problem? Because most of the messes that I experience in my life, if I think about it critically, it all goes back to my dad. And I don't necessarily like to blame a disaster on just one person. It's like saying a disaster was caused by one little thing. We all know that it's a chain of critical events when something extremely bad happens. I just wonder, what if certain things would have been handled differently in our past? What if I would have been raised closer to my brothers? Outside of my full brother. Like, it was cool that I got to grow up with him until I was like 13 years old. What if we would have grown up closer? What would our lives have been like? What would our careers be like? What would our personal situations be like? Let it be financially, home life. Where would we be living? Would we be super apart like we are now? And let me tell you guys, I only communicate with my full brother, and it was by accident. And the reason I say it was by accident is because something had to happen in his life to put him in a position where he needed my help and my mother's help. And that's how he came back to talking to us. I'm grateful. But it's bizarre that in between that, my whatever relationship I may have formed with my eldest brother may have been affected, which is strange because between my eldest brother and I, it's always been pleasant hanging out. You know, like, I've always known he loved me, like I'm his baby sister. Between us, we have never had fights. If anything, I was mean to him when I was little. I understood that he was my brother, but because I wasn't growing up with him, it was like, okay, I'm told that he is my brother, but how? I didn't get it, because if you don't have the same mom as I do, and mom was the only figure I had, it was like, why do they keep calling you my brother? I know that my dad is your dad, but like, I don't know. I was stupid as a kid, okay? But anyway, so eventually I grew up and I, of course, understood. It's not like we have strengthened that relationship or that bond. And even if I wanted to, my eldest brother's life is a mess. The last thing I need to do is to be occupying him. He just has stuff going on. He has children and he has a child that's not that old now. It's like 2 years old or so. So that's going to be pretty demanding. We're far away considerably. So it's not like, hey, I can just drive there this weekend and go see him. Like, nothing like that. I can't help but wonder the depth of the consequences of children who are born outside of marriages. And of course, my younger half brother was born during my parents' marriage. So there are some things that I'm not very clear on. And mom has discussed this with me because I asked her. I don't understand, though, why it is so hard for my family to just come together and let some things just go and live more in the present, put it that way. But I feel like the older we get, the more cold and distant we are becoming because our lives are changing to where we cannot accommodate time for us to socialize and bond. I feel like the crucial time for us to bond was during our formative years or during years when we were more available when it comes to time as a resource. But now we all have our lives going on. And as time passes, that familiarity, whatever might have been there, is just getting more lost and lost and lost. It worries me to see what the future's gonna be like. I don't know what to tell you because I behave like I had the influence of my brothers, even though I was only around my full brother. And my full brother and I, we got along, but not incredibly so. Like sometimes we would have our clashes and it could last for a long time. And I know that he resented me to a certain extent because I feel like I arrived during a time when my parents were trying to reconcile and the reconciliation did not happen. So maybe my full brother as a kid ended up associating me as the cause of my parents' separation. And the reason I say that is because I really cannot remember if I heard it directly from him or if it was just mom pulling out her psychology card because she deals with children herself. But it would make sense, and like I wouldn't be upset at my brother, but I would be upset if he still tried to play that card in the present. And whether he does or not, I don't care because fortunately I have my own life going on. I'm sure that that's not it because we did get to talk about what was happening with him, like the things that made him mad, how he felt, what he thought. And surprisingly, we actually think alike in a lot of things. And the things that we disagree on is because his views on life are different. The way he values life is a little different. He has ambitions. I don't. He has more materialistic goals. I don't. He is more attached to the family. I am not. I have been completely cold and distant with the family, not because that's how I want to be, but because I'm the kind of person who, unfortunately, socializing is not something that I take initiative on, especially if we started off on the wrong foot. So if my family were to display interest in trying to get close to me, I would welcome it. But outside of that, I don't have an incentive to really do it. And at least socially, I know that it's not a lack of social skills because with strangers, absolute strangers, especially the strangers who I meet, say at my job, and I get to know, I have absolute control of those social instances. So I know that I am capable of managing social situations. But when it comes to my family, maybe because I have had negative associations about them for a long time, that's what makes it seem like I wouldn't win anything out of doing that. But yeah, you guys, I just wanted to throw this out there and give you guys a little bit of an insight that yes, I do have experiences in my family with like a child who was born out of a marriage and how it had a direct impact on me and how it actually manifested. But in my brain, that's dormant. I'm trying to tell you guys details, but I have nothing because it's not a very clear picture yet. I just know that it sucks to have that situation and the consequences, no matter how old you are, if you are that child in that kind of dynamic, like say between your parents, this happened, it sucks. Nobody wins in this situation. And it's always the children, no matter how grown or old we are the ones who end up suffering. So yeah, you guys, I just wanted to share that with you and get that off my chest. I'm not really sure I achieved what I wanted to convey in this video, which was breaking down more the consequences of that. But I don't want to claim expertise on something that, although I have experienced it, doesn't mean that my opinion on it is something I can be confident about, because to this day I'm still trying to understand certain details. So maybe one of you guys can be like, hey Zam, yeah, I hear you. This is what I have seen or experienced myself, and just know that your state of confusion is normal. Or maybe one of you guys might challenge me and be like, why don't you try to just to bring that up whenever you feel up to it, if you're curious. Or guys, I just don't know if I care, but because it is something that is a fact about my life, I thought I would share it. As soon as I stop recording this video, I'm gonna go back to my life and live it the way that it was. Sometimes I just stare off into the distance, and whatever thought gets into my mind, it could be family related, it could be food related, it could be exercise related, weather related, whatever it is, I like to indulge on it. And because I've been tripping about making videos, I thought, well, why not let go of this one? All right, guys, well, that's it from me. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you soon.